let's go straight to James Ndebele, who is the lawyer representing Brigadier Dineo Mokwele, one of the officials at Crime Intelligence that have been charged by IDEC. We now know that even the head of IDEC referred to Mokwele as a token appointment, even when she had not even bothered to look at her own CV and work experience. So James Ndebele joins us now on the line. Mr. Ndebele, thank you for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning to your listeners, 702 listeners.
The NPA has now decided, the head of the NPA, to provisionally withdraw the charges against Mokwele and the other crime intelligence officials. Are you accepting this as the lawyer representing Dineo Mokwele?
Clement, I'm not accepting the provisional withdrawal of charges. Over the years, I've seen this pattern before where provisional withdrawals are employed by the state as a means of insulating itself from accountability for a decision on the merits.
Mm-hmm.
It is a practice that leaves accused persons in legal limbo with the threat of prosecution indefinitely hanging over their heads. So for now, I'm not accepting the provisional withdrawal of the charges. I'll explain why.
Please do explain. What would you have preferred? So would you have preferred that the matter continues to go to court so that the merits are looked at, or would you have rather preferred a more permanent withdrawal of the charges?
Clement, we would have preferred a permanent withdrawal of the charges. Given the seriousness of the injustice suffered by my client and the constitutional obligations resting upon the Office of the National Director of Public Prosecutions, I expected a higher standard of fairness, finality, and institutional integrity. Instead, the NDPP has chosen to perpetuate uncertainty by advancing a position that is inconsistent with the factual history of this matter, in particular, what has been occurring at the Madlanga Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So my client is once again left to endure the emotional, reputational, legal burden of an unresolved prosecution, despite the investigations having been long completed.
Mm-hmm.
We were informed in court as far back as February 2026 that IDEC had finalized its investigations and they were ready to proceed on trial. We then said, before we go on trial, can we make representations? We then made representations. We only submitted representations on behalf of Ms. Mokwele in May 2026 due to the fact that there was a delay. We had requested IDEC to provide us further particulars in respect of documents that were in possession of BMW. IDEC refused to assist us in obtaining those documents from BMW. I understand why, after what has happened at the commission.
Mm-hmm.
I then had to issue a subpoena on BMW for documents to be provided, and the substance of those documents formed our representations, which we submitted to the National Director, which he said he was considering.
Okay.
He's had our representations as far back as May 2026. Up to now, as of yesterday, he then writes to us and says he's decided to provisionally withdraw the charges. In fact, if one looks at the letter that was sent to us, in paragraph 3 of the letter, the NDPP makes reference to section 175C of the Constitution. Section 179.5C of the Constitution, I'll read it. It says, the National Director may intervene in the prosecution process when policy directives are not complied with. He then says, as a result of Section 179.5C of the Constitution, he has directed that the charges be withdrawn before plea in terms of Section 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a provisional withdrawal. So on one hand, the NDPP is conceding that there has been a policy directive contravention. Sorry, I was looking at the provision again.
Sure.
Now, how do you make that concession that the NPA policy directives have been contravened and he's now intervening, but still insists that there are investigations that are pending as advised by IDEC.
Yeah.
The very same IDEC whose former head, has now resigned, went live on the commission and indicated that my client was prosecuted for an offense which he was yet to commit in the future. Perhaps that's the investigation which the NDPP has been advised that IDEC is waiting for. They're waiting for to commit an offense in the future.
Yeah.
And then finalize the investigations. That's the only conclusion I can draw. I mean, there's nothing else to investigate. What happened yesterday is also concerning, where you've got IDEC itself seemingly imploding. You've got a prosecutor and an investigator who's now challenging whether or not Mr. Perumal signed the affidavit on the date that he says he signed the affidavit.
In fact, they seem to be distancing themselves from that statement. So what's your next step then, Mr. Ndebele? Now that you are rejecting this provisional withdrawal announced by the head of the NPA, what's next available for you as recourse?
Clement, we are not obliged to accept the state's withdrawal of the charges, the provisional withdrawal of the charges. I'm in fact inclined to advise my client to reject the NDPP's provisional withdrawal of charges and consider instituting a permanent stay of prosecution in the High Court. Remember, it's not a foregone conclusion that because the NDPP has taken a decision to provisionally withdraw the charges, the court must accept that. The state would have to make application for the provisional withdrawal of charges. The defense will then respond.
Yeah.
Our response can be to the effect that, well, they're looking to conduct further investigations, let them investigate. But we now considering bringing an application for a permanent stay of prosecution in the High Court. If Motibi cannot exercise his prerogative, he had a perfect opportunity to undo the wrongs that IDEC has done.
Gotcha.
Up to now, which concessions have been made by the IDEC head, I beg your pardon, the former IDEC head. I'm trying to get used to Andrew Johnson being the former IDEC head. He had a perfect opportunity to distance himself from this notion that people in South Africa are being prosecuted for crimes they are yet to commit in the future.
Yeah. So are you considering suing the IDEC, given the reputational damage that you mentioned that your client has been affected by, among other things that have affected her as a result of all of this?
Clement, the fashion in which the letter I received yesterday is worded is somewhat of a head of institution who is trying to protect or mitigate damages that his institution and the ministry responsible would be faced with. They are anticipating that there will be civil claims by not only my client, all the other 6 accused persons my client was charged with insofar as this matter is concerned. So they are anticipating that there will be such action. This is the reason why we now told all of a sudden that he's been advised that there are further investigative steps that are required. He doesn't say what those steps are.
Yeah.
He doesn't say how long these investigations are going to subsist for.
Yeah.
He's obliged to inform the court. Well, the prosecutor designated to deal with the matter will be obliged to tell the court what other further investigative steps are outstanding, how long that process will take, instead of just now coming a month before we are back in court. We are back in court on the 3rd of September.
So
why is the NDPP now all of a sudden withdrawing the charges a month before?
Yeah.
If indeed there are further steps to be taken, why can they not be taken during this period until the 3rd of September? There's nothing pressing him to withdraw the charges now.
Got you. But just lastly, Mr. Ndebele, have you given due consideration, though, to the civil claim against IDEC on behalf of your client?
Yes, we have. And she will be at the appropriate time. Remember, she's got 6 months from the time that the charges are withdrawn, or alternatively from the time that she became aware of the fact that the arrest itself was unlawful. We only became aware of the alleged Section 27 illegality as of last week. We constantly requested for a copy of this Section 27 authorization, and we were denied. We were told it's privileged, it doesn't form part of the record. Now, thank God for the Madlanga Commission as well as General Mkwanazi's expose or press briefing of July last year. I mean, the two, I can say they are a gift of providence. Without the fact-finding commission at the Madlanga Commission, my client would have expended hundreds of thousands of rands trying to explain to the court that she's innocent.
Yeah, James Ndebele, let me thank you. He's the lawyer representing Brigadier Dineo Mokwele, that one that IDEC even charged for fraud and corruption based on what she may or may not commit in the future. Yeah, it's really extraordinary.